And here we are live once again. It is the spoiler room. Thank you for venturing down the stairs, pulling up a chair next to us, and hearing us talk some movie spoilers tonight. The crew and I appreciate you stopping by. And yes, it is Father's Day. We had Father's Day like on Sunday, and now it's Happy Father's Day. Once again, it is a Cannon Fodder special, and boy, oh boy, is this one special. Yes, folks, we are talking Superman 4 from 1987. And joining me tonight to talk about this fourth installment in the Superman franchise. First off, we have him back here. I think he joined because, he heard how horrible Superman 4 was, horror movies, who knows, but he is with us, of course, the miser himself, the horror miser himself, Mr. Monty G. Hello, Monty. How are you, sir?
Good morning, good evening, Mark. Oh yes, I'm gonna love this one. you think after Superman 3 they would have stopped, but no, they had to make this piece of garbage.
Well, it's the canon way, what?
Now, see, Kenneth has made some great movies. I mean, yeah, they're not the best, they're not Oscar-worthy films. They make some good action films throughout their
Career, yeah.
years, but
Yeah.
this. Well, you'll hear my opinions about this one.
We definitely know where Lamont already stands, and my right-hand man, who is next to me here as well, he's back in the spoiler room. We've watched many a canon film this year. It is none other than Mr. Ian Simmons. Hello, Ian. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I do have to start off with a correction, though, unfortunately, Mark. It's not Superman 4. It's Superman IV, as in you will be hospitalized after watching this film.
That's what's hilarious is if you search for Superman 4, you will not get results for this film. You have to put IV.
That's because Warner Brothers knows what they're doing.
it's like you can't put it 4. It's got to be IV. And yeah, so, Ian, we're going to give it to you tonight.
I'm sure you will.
Give it to our fine listeners out there. The synopsis for Superman 4.
All right. Well, let me just start off. I don't know. Have you guys listened to the audio commentary for Superman 4?
No, I have not yet.
No, I have not.
If you get a chance, I only listened to part of it, but it's on like a DVD multi-pack.
Hey, I've got that one. Yeah, I've got that one.
There is an audio commentary from one of the screenwriters. What was his name? Screenwriter Mark Rosenthal, who begins, first line of the commentary as the logos are coming up. You can tell from the first credit that says Warner Brothers that something is very wrong in Metropolis. He then goes on to use the words unethical and greed to describe this movie, and as a betrayal of Christopher Reeve. So that's how the commentary begins, and it only gets better from there. Better comedy than the actual film, I think.
What's funny is I have that DVD collection, that exact one. I put it in my PS3. It would not play Superman 4. It literally refused. It played 3, it played 2, it played 1. I flipped because it's the double discs, so you just flip it over and play the other side. It refused, no matter what I did, to play Superman 4. So I'm going to have to play it on a different DVD player downstairs, an actual player, in order to watch it. Because even PS3 went,
Well, I think the PS3, that was the model when they started putting in the discernment chips into their hardware. So yeah, I understand. No, okay. So this movie is about Superman realizing that we're all going to blow each other up because this took place towards the end of the Cold War. We didn't really know that at the time, so it was the middle of the Cold War. And so he goes to the UN and says, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to get rid of all nuclear weapons." And within like an afternoon, he rounds up all the nuclear warheads on the planet into a giant space net and hurls it into the sun. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor has broken out of rock smashing jail with his nephew Lenny Luthor, played by John Cryer, Uncle Lex. Yeah,
I forgot.
good stuff.
I actually forgot. I forgot he actually was in this movie, John Cryer.
Well, that was the gimmick of why when he showed up in Supergirl TV series, everybody went nuts that he was playing Luthor, and I couldn't see him not be that character.
I didn't watch enough Supergirl. I didn't realize that he was in there as Lex Luthor. That's crazy.
He's Lex Luthor. That's part of the casting they did, was to bring him in, and not to break away from that riveting synopsis.
Now let's talk about something interesting instead of this movie.
What I find interesting is watching this movie now with him, and then knowing I can't see it because he's a wonderful Lex Luthor in Supergirl.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's like one of the shining points of that show. Wow. He is a fantastic Lex Luthor. And if you look at it, you could see he borrowed a bit from Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. Because he's got a little bit of it. He makes it his own, but you could see glimpses of Gene Hackman's original Lex Luthor in there. And no, he's wonderful in it. Trust me, I was surprised.
Then I'm gonna tie these universes together and say it's all one continuity. I think Lenny Luthor at some point strangled Uncle Lex in his sleep and assumed his identity.
Absolutely, why not?
Cut him up into little pieces. He was known as the Hack Man. But I don't want to tarnish the names of the people who made this movie. But
wow. Well, from that pun, why don't you finish the synopsis then?
Well, okay. So I'll get through it real quick. Lex Luthor breaks out of prison with the help of his nephew. There's a museum that has a strand of Superman's hair that is holding 2 gigantic 1,000-pound weight, like suspended.
It was just one. Don't give Superman too much credit. Yeah, it was just one ball.
One. Yeah.
It wasn't 2 balls. Okay. It was only 1 ball with hair.
No, okay. I just that's another after effect of watching this movie. Anyway,
you get hair on your ball?
No, you lose one.
Oh, you lose.
But so I mean, public service announcement: we got to keep Lance Armstrong away from the Superman IV.
Wow!
All right, so Luthor takes this and comes up with a pile of quote unquote genetic material, which I was laughing like an 8th grader when he said that, launches that onto a rocket into space. And out comes Nuclear Man in a beautiful homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Nuclear Man played by Mark Pillow.
What a name.
Yeah. Or as I like to call him, My Pillow. He comes to Earth and he attacks Superman, and there's a D-list Kmart grade fight. Nuclear Man is defeated, and then he's not, and then he's defeated again. He's sent into a nuclear reactor where he powers like cities all over the place. And the world is rid of nuclear weapons. Luthor goes back to jail. Yeah, I think he gets dropped off.
Yeah.
Lenny Luthor gets dropped off in Boys Town, which if you come from Chicago, you're going to be snickering again like an 8th grader.
Right?
Boys Town is not a juvenile correctional facility out this way. I'll just say that.
What is Boys Town?
It's where the boys are.
Where the boys are.
That's why they call it Boys Town.
The Wild Boys?
So something like that, especially during June. No, I gotta say, I love Boys Town. It's an awesome community. I used to hang out there a lot, and yeah, it's really fun. But
you missed the pivotal love plot in here with Lois Lane and Superman, and not Lois Lane and Clark Kent.
I found out that from the screenwriter, again on his informative commentary track, that there are 45 minutes trimmed from this movie.
The film was originally cut to 134 minutes, and they cut it down to 90 minutes, and they were going to use the deleted footage, which, do your math, folks, that's about 45 minutes, as groundwork for a 5th film. Why not? They had half of it shot already.
I mean, it worked in 1 and 2, right? So I purposely left out the romantic, like Archie Comics bad sitcom menage Contra, I guess, because it was like Superman and Lois and Clark Kent and Mariel Hemingway's character. She plays the daughter of the sleazy tabloid magnate who has taken over the Daily Planet. And at the end, Perry White convinces all of the bankers in Gotham to rally behind him and his failing newspaper. They give him tons of money to buy the paper out, or buy the majority share. Yeah, that's
Metropolis.
Metropolis, Gotham. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's just different people running around different capes.
Spoken like a true Mick U fan. Thank you, Steve.
Hey, you know what I say? I say Mick U. No, sorry. I watched the Suicide Squad Part 2 trailer today, and yeah, I'm not in the most DC friendly mood tonight, so I'll keep my thoughts to myself.
They're great.
Yes, I saw that trailer too. I was like, oh no.
That's all I need. Great, 2 Marvel raging fans. That's great. That's okay. I will carry the flag.
No, look, I'm going to stick up for DC a little bit, because the frustrating thing about Superman 4: The Quest for Peace is there are occasional moments, not usually involving Superman, mostly involving Clark Kent, that are pretty nice. Like when he meets with the real estate guy who's trying to sell, the Kent farm. It's basically like the Kansas version of that scene from the opening of Up, when he's like the Carl Fredrickson refusing to sell to the developers. That's sweet stuff. I'm like, where is the rest of that?
Yeah, it fits in spurts for sure. We are of that age, all of us. So, Lamont, do you remember when you watched Superman 4 to theater, or did you watch Superman 4 to theater?
Yes, I went to the theater to see Superman 4 because, hey, look, it's Superman. Why not go to the theaters? I actually did not see the original Superman in theaters. I actually saw Superman 2 for free.
Nice.
And then, of course, then had to bog down and see Superman 3 with Richard Pryor, and then had to go see this film in the theater. And it's like this. I said to myself and my friends, I said, look, they can't do anything worse than what they did with 3. Now, I understand the reasons why, because a lot of stuff got changed over, because they wanted, I think, if not mistaken, they actually wanted to put Brainiac in 3, but somehow that got changed.
Yep.
I forgot why.
Yeah, licensing and I think budget as well. That's why they went with what we covered 3 on our series special a few years ago. Third Time's a Charm, if I remember correctly, and it was I think it was budget constraints or licensing, one of the two, because who created Brainiac, I guess. I don't know. Comic book licensing is a headache.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, it was before DC got the rights to Superman. I think somebody else created Brainiac, and they didn't have the rights. I don't know, really Jerry. I don't know, it was Jerry and Joel. If they were the ones, and for some reason they just didn't have the rights to something. I guess it's the reason why they couldn't add Brainiac on it, because I knew the concept by me looking. That's what they wanted to do, but they had to get the evil robot.
Yeah, they got a evil robot in 3, and in 4 we get
Nuclear
Man, who is just a variation of Atom Man, which was a legit comic book villain of Superman. I think, at least in the radio dramas. I don't know if he ever got put to print, but Atom Man, I know, was in one of the dramas, one of the radio dramas. So,
and just kind of take a meta note for a second. Anyone who follows the Canon Film Guide on Twitter, or me or Mark for that matter, probably saw this a couple hours ago. Canon Film Guide. I think Austin runs that, right? Austin Trunick.
Yeah,
is he?
He does.
That's officially him. He posted a picture. I think it might have even been a retweet from someone else, of Mark Pillow meeting Prince Charles and Princess Diana in Nuclear Man costume, and the caption was like, he's the only one who didn't get the memo about not wearing the costume to meet royalty. Oh, I felt so bad watching that, but it was also so perfect.
It may surprise you, but he didn't have much, if any, acting experience before he took this role.
Really?
I know. Nuclear Man, he brought it. When he had to growl, he growled. I mean, he took that show.
Was this a David Prowse situation where his real voice was just so goofy they said, screw it, we'll just put Gene Hackman over him?
I don't know. It might have been. What about you, Ian? Did you see this in the theater?
I was a nasty little kid, so I could conceivably see my parents like throwing their hands up in the air like we've tried every other form of punishment, starvation, locking him in the basement. What can we do? And then, I mean, they even sent me to Catholic school for crying out loud. But then in 1987, they're like, this is it. So
wow.
I came out of change. I was on the straight and narrow after that, after watching this movie.
Wow.
Yeah. After years and years of crying and therapy.
You guys are just being savage to this film. Holy cat. I came out disappointed, but I wasn't like, I didn't hate it. I was just like, okay, that happened, when I was younger, when it came out. I went to see it in the theater because, yeah, Superman. I mean, folks, there was a period. I know it's hard to understand for many of you out there who have been inundated with the Mick universe, but before that time, you very, very rarely got superhero movies on the big screen. So when you got one, you went to the theater to see it, and you came out of it usually disappointed. Yeah, most of them were Superman anyway, so it didn't really matter.
And you're right. This is barely a superhero movie, so it's in line with what you're saying.
It is barely. It's rough. I mean, watching it again, I'm looking at this going, wow, I want to see this Superman in Superman 4 v 1966 Batman Adam West, because out of all the Superman films, this one, he is talking the most like Adam West did in Superman, as far as his dialogue, that speech about his first speech about getting rid of the nukes. I'm like, wow. And and then when he rescues the subway train, because the subway train gets thrown off, and he rescues it, and he does the little speech of, remember, the subway train is still the most safest form of transportation. I'm like, holy crap, he's embodying Adam West in that.
He is the mayor of Quahog in that moment. Yeah.
He sounded just like him.
You know what? I actually thought he was channeling George Reeves.
Well, he could have, yeah.
George Reeves, the way he was talking with that proper English, and I say, man, talk about 50s Superman. Because when I rewatched this over the weekend, I'm like, wow, God, is he really going back to 50s Superman with this character?
Well, Lamont, it's funny you mentioned that, because at the end, I watched this the other night, and at the end of it, I tried channeling George Reeves, but then my wife walked in and said, "Put the gun down."
Oh, wow. Wow. Man, I'm not as savage with this film, because there's glimmers, and you can see what they were trying to do it. And it's good and bad, unfortunately, that Canon had this property at this time, because there is potential here for this to be a great another installment of the Superman film. There's like seeds and groundwork here. I mean, they tried their darndest. They tried to get Donner back. They couldn't, because he was working on Lethal Weapon. Mm-hmm. But they wanted, because Donner got fired from 2, Canon was like, hey, you want to come back and do the film? Here they are, a studio that is not the original studio to come out with this property, buy it, and get nearly the entire cast back for this sequel with a different studio, a different director. I mean, and Reeves, he got convinced to do it if he had his film Street Smart funded. That's what made he did this role for the 4th time if the studio would finance his film Street Smart, which came out later. So that's why Reeve came back, though he now regrets it, and this has become the Hudson Hawk of his career. He doesn't talk about Superman 4. He said it was the worst experience of his life, and took a blow to his career.
Well, he
I'll
doesn't talk
say.
about much at all nowadays.
Well, jeez.
I'm just saying.
Ooh, man.
Zing!
At the very end, if you
Wow.
want, I will tell you my favorite Christopher Reeve joke.
I-
Maybe
not
after
on-
maybe after we get off the air.
I don't think you want to do that where it's being recorded because the cancelers will come for you.
That's why we'll do it at the very end.
Mm.
And you know, we're talking about Father's Day.
Yes.
This is a joke that was passed down to me by my father. So
Okay,
I take the parent privilege.
We will definitely talk about that later, not here. So, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where you can see the concept, and this is something that I guess Reeves helped create, this idea of the deproliferation of nukes, which, you know, this is kind of a high concept for this. And you're like, for a superhero film, I mean, granted, it's executed poorly, but Lamont, what did you think of the concept of Superman saying, hey, I mean, this is very comic book Superman-like. We've seen him make this misstep before of trying to help humanity on a grand scale and have it kind of backfire. What did you think of the concept, at least, of what they were trying to go for with Superman and what he was doing in this film?
At the time when I saw this film, I wasn't that knowledgeable as far as the Superman in the comics. I mean, the only exposure I had with Superman was obviously the George Reeves show of the I think the Filmation Supermans with the Aquamans and the Batmans, and of course the Super Friends. So that's the only thing I had with Superman at the time. So, but I wasn't surprised at the story because I figured this was something Superman would do because sometimes his ego gets the best of him because he wants to do the right thing and he's thinking to do the right thing. But of course, when you are an all-powerful person, you want to do the right thing. Obviously, something's going to backfire, and obviously it did. But no, I'm not. I kind of get the idea. Obviously, what was going on at the world at the time, and you know, we're still in this Cold War with Russia. And if we had someone like that in real life, maybe this is what he would do, and maybe he'd be able to prevent a nuclear war from happening. But then again, you know, sometimes, you know, stuff like that backfires.
Yes. Oh, apparently there was going to be a scene where Russia had fired missiles at U.S. and the U.S. fired missiles at Russia, and both the missiles were destroyed by Superman, actually, I think, or captured, you know, and shot into the net as well. So I think, or something along that lines. It wasn't that best described, but I think they were trying to go with that to get further the idea of, you know, this man who, you know, I found it hilarious. And my son, honorable son number 1, watched this with me all the way through. I love my son. He toughed it out. And we watched it, you know, and I was finding the entertainment, the cheese, very camp and cheese in it. I'm like, this is definitely canon signature on it. But with this, with Superman doing the, where was I going with this now? I've lost my train of thought. With the proliferation and the missiles, yeah, it's gone now. Wow, it left me. I apologize, folks. Where was I going with this? I totally don't remember. Anyway, I'll come back to it.
It's the after effects of this film because it starts erasing your memory as soon as it happens. Yeah,
it starts wiping it. Yeah, it just wow. I apologize, folks. That I've never had that happen. It must be the movie. We'll blame it on the movie. You know. Yeah, apparently, though, with this, there was a lot of footage on the floor, including Nuclear Man 1. You mentioned it, Ian, about
Bizarro.
You know, that it wasn't actually Bizarro. That was actually Nuclear Man 1.
Yeah, and you know, for years I thought it was Bizarro, but then this afternoon or whenever I sent that to you or we were talking about it, I was looking it up again to watch it, and I kept seeing people referring to him as Nuclear Man 1 / kind of Bizarro. So I guess that was the way that they could sort of creep that reference in there, you know. And
actually, they were positing to Christopher Reeve to be playing Bizarro in this film at one point, but they didn't, so they did Nuclear Man. Uh, but that's where I was going. Thank you. I knew it would come back around. I apologize, gentlemen and my listeners. But where I was going is my son found it hilarious at the speech at the UN where he's saying, hey, I'm going to get rid of all the nuclear weapons. All right, cool. All the nuclear missiles, just dump them to me and I'm going to toss them into the sun. Because he is a man who doesn't belong to boundaries and belong to one nation. But every chance you get, he is doing the America pose. He is straightening the American flag. He is saving the Statue of Liberty. He is still wearing the blue and red. Ian, he doesn't belong to another country, but Superman, let's face it, has always been associated with American propaganda. Well, not always, but a lot. I mean,
yeah, the truth, justice, and the American way and all that stuff. I mean, I don't have so much of a problem with that because for as much as he is a citizen of the world, that's what he grew into.
Right.
For the first, until he was in his early 20s, he was a Kansas boy. He was raised by, tried true American heartland folks. So and that would be something I think would be kind of cool to explore in a movie, the idea of him having to be, representing protecting the world, but having a specific cultural perspective. But we're not going to get that in this movie. Certainly, I was watching this movie now as an adult. I thought the UN speech was very odd because one of the reasons we have MAD, mutually assured destruction, is because we don't want anybody having the upper hand in the nuclear arms race. So I don't care who it is, if they stand up and say, I'm going to get rid of all your nuclear weapons, and everybody's cheering. No, I don't see, because let's just take the idea away that, because people always say that'd be a great thing about aliens coming to the planet is it would unite all of us as, the big blue planet Earth instead of our petty squabbles, from continent to continent. But
yeah, they literally did a comic book series on it called The Watchmen. So.
Right. Yeah, seriously. But here's the thing. You've got this guy coming down and he throws away all the nuclear weapons. So then it's like, well, not everybody knows everything about Superman necessarily, but I would be very skeptical of an alien coming down and throwing away our best shot to perhaps take him out. Because as we saw in Superman 3, which I believe is canon, he has the ability to turn into a drunk, raging, power-mad asshole.
Well, no, that's only when he hit the kryptonite, the red kryptonite, I think it was, or
yeah, it was red kryptonite.
It was red kryptonite in 3. Yeah,
they had the world had no internet. All they had was, maybe nightly news and newspapers. So all you see is Superman going around tilting the Leaning Tower of Pisa. He's drunk. He's in the dirty suit. Like, there are people out there who are probably like, instead of, oh, that's Superman, he's good again. There are people who are like, isn't this the same asshole who's like blowing stuff up a few years ago and like, causing all these problems? Why am I happy that he just got rid of all of our weapons?
Well, and if you look at it, the whole proliferation, Lamont, that is a good segue to talk about our villain, Mr. Lex Luthor, because now that they're getting rid of weapons, suddenly there's a black market for it. Superman didn't see this coming. What'd you think of Lex and his grand scheme of playing the arms dealers?
Typical Lex Luger plan, especially with this particular version of Lex Luger. He's not the very smart, sophisticated villain that we see in the comic books, but it's something that this particular Lex Luger would plan. And Gene Hackman kind of hams it up, especially in this role, because it's not. I like the first film, how he plays Lex. This one now, he seems to be a bit over the top, almost cartoonish, almost something you would see in Super Friends.
Well, not only that, he shows up with like 2 women. He's got these 2 hanger-ons that really are just there for like whatever. I mean, they aren't even like Miss Tessmacher. At least Miss Tessmacher did, serve. She did something. She saved Superman shit, but but she had a more of a brain, and it seemed, than his 2 hanger. It's like, these aren't people that Lex would normally be hanging out with, I don't think. Well, Gene Hackman, I think, would you say, Ian, is just cashing in a check for this film.
I mean, he's still one of the bright spots of the movie. I think if you take away the weird costumes, because he's like, at one point he's on a military base and he's like marching along with a big cigar. He sneaks in line behind some generals and then he bursts into a bunker where they're about to launch nukes or rockets or whatever, and he starts giving orders. And like, how does this work? And then later he and Lenny are driving their getaway car, the most obnoxious, obvious supervillain car. They're dressed like they're from Muttley from Wacky Racers, trying to make a clean getaway, right? That's ridiculous. But I do like Lex's overconfidence in Nuclear Man, how he's just going to kind of sit back and watch his new pet destroy Superman, and then the moment where Nuclear Man sort of lords his strength over Lex Luthor, and there's this kind of like a cool little dance that they do of superiority. I thought that was neat. There are things in this movie that would work if it was an actual movie. Yeah, Gene Hackman, he's hamming it up a little bit, but I'm going back to at the end of Superman 1 where he's going, Mr. Smucker! There's none of that in this movie. All that stuff is saved for John Cryer. I will say about the arms dealers, it was kind of fun because 2 of the 3 of them went on to be other things. One was, I don't remember the actor's name, but it was the guy who played Porkins in Star Wars. Yep. And 2 years later, he would show up as Eckhart in Batman. Yeah. And then the kind of the baldish guy, not the dude with the mustache, not the Russian guy, but the other dude who really didn't say much. That's Jim Broadbent, who would go on to be in Moulin Rouge and like a ton of. He was like huge 20 years later. So it was cool to see that. And then I blanked out afterwards.
What'd you think of Lenny Lamont?
I'd rather see Ned Beatty.
Yeah.
As annoying as he wasn't as annoying as his nephew.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I guess they had to get somebody. I guess Ned Beatty didn't want to return. He was smart enough not to return, but they had to get somebody in and to do this film. So they got him. Thank God he actually learned his lesson. Now he's killing it with Supergirl.
yeah. I mean, he learned, but yeah, the Lenny character was odd. I mean, I liked the car he had. I mean, again, I did like some of the banter, and Lex gets some great insults on Lenny. I'm gonna put it down. I mean, the classic Lex commentary on a character he just thinks is just way beneath him, but he has him because, well, that's the only person he can get to work with him. So he's out of necessity. But Ian, you mentioned something with Lenny about his accent.
Yeah, you're gonna got it. Like it was like this hyper Valley Girl thing. I don't know.
Well, he was dressed like a Hyper Valley Girl too, though.
Know what he was dressed like, and a lot of it was the hair. I believe it was also 1987. He was in one of the great college, and not college, but like teen body swap movies. Although this was not like a freak accident where they switch bodies like Father Like Son or 18 Again. This was I'm a cop who's going undercover in high school.
Yes.
They were hiding out.
Hiding out. Oh,
he
my
was in
God.
hiding out. I'm pretty sure that's if it's not the same haircut, it's damn close.
Yes, hiding out. That's right. Oh, man. I think that's part of the reason why he got this job. Because he was Ducky in Pretty in Pink, which we reviewed, last year. He wanted to do Dudes as well. That was a big year for him because he did Superman 4, Dudes, Hiding Out, and he was in a film called Morgan Stewart's Coming Home, and he played Morgan Stewart. That's like 4 films for Cryer.
Was that the prequel to Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael with Winona Ryder?
I don't know.
You probably could spin it in some way, I'm sure.
I will say, if you're going to go for 1987 undercover cops in high school movies, go with Plain Clothes starring Arliss Howard. Much better movie, especially because Arliss Howard looked like he was about 30 at the time, and he was playing a 17-year-old, which is amazing.
Well, speaking of young faces, we do get Jimmy Olsen back. We get Mark McClure back, who at the time, sorry, McU fans, I'm sorry, MCU fans, but he was the first person to reprise his role in a superhero film 5 times. He did Superman 1 through 4, and he plays Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl.
In Supergirl, the Helen Shader film.
Yep, the one that everybody forgets because for other reasons, probably similar to Superman 4. But
I have not seen Supergirl since probably it came out. I think it was like 2 or something.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah,
that one. But yeah, I mean, so you've got all the characters back. You've got the recipe here for a decent 4th installment. You get the original cast back. I mean, I could see the appeal. That was the appeal for when it was coming out. It's like, holy crap, they got everybody back, including Jean. Oh, look, Superman is taking on someone who's kind of his equal now in many ways, and we do get that in this round the world battle, which, Ian, what did you think of this round the world battle between Nuclear Man and Superman?
It was funny because that's when the no budget really showed its true colors. The ultra blue cutouts of these characters when they're in space, like flying after each other, like, you've got it's just so bad. And I kept thinking about we've been here before, but in a much better capacity in Superman 2.
Yeah,
because he was fighting people who were his equals then. There were 3 of them, and they were also very smart. Whereas now you're just fighting. It'd be one thing if Nuclear Man was not just a dummy, but you just get the sense he's this giant, kryptonite powerlifting bohunk or something. Speaking of which, before I forget, because I forgot earlier, kryptonite. Clark goes into the barn at his parents' house, and there's kryptonite or something. There's a remnant. It's described as a remnant of the planet.
It's the green crystal. It's the same green crystal that he carried in the first film that made the Fortress of Solitude, which, if you liked the shot of the Fortress of Solitude from the first film, fear not, folks, because it shows up here again, because Canon bought some footage from the original film and reused it here. I don't know if that was ever intended to actually be kryptonite. I think it was just a specific energy because it's described as energy from the planet and the knowledge, and that's the stone, that's the one he threw in the Antarctic to make the Fortress of Solitude in 1.
Right. So, and that's the thing that bugged me more so in this movie than in 1. I think partially because at one point, I guess he had been scratched by Nuclear Man on the neck, and he looked really kind of ragged, and he was struggling to hold the thing up. I think I was getting that confused with draining his powers. But I mean, kryptonite essentially is just remnants of the planet Krypton that have been collected, and it's like super radioactive against Superman for some reason. I guess does it not interact well with our Earth radiation or something? That's why it weakens him.
I'm not that versed into Superman comics, but I've only ever seen it explained as it's the original irradiation from his planet that he grew up on. So that's why it affects him. It affects his absorption possibly of the yellow sunlight from, Earth. It's one of those where it's from his planet. So it hurts him. Lamont, I don't know if you might know more.
From what I understand in the comics, and from what I understand about it, that's basically what it is. It's material from his planet or radiation from his planet. When the planet exploded, it sent millions and millions of his whatchamacallits, and so obviously it will affect him because it has to be elements of the red sun, since they have a red sun there and they have a yellow sun. So obviously if he gets exposed to it, it's more deadly to him. Obviously, it must be deadly to Kryptonians.
Right.
So that's why it affects them that way. I know for some reason it doesn't affect enough radiation to affect regular humans.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the the steel, whereas in Mandalorian, the steel, the only thing that could damage Beskar armor, Beskar armor and steel is other Beskar armor. It kind of like that. It's Kryptonian from Krypton, so it hurts him because he's from Krypton too. I mean, that's the only explanation I've ever really seen, and that's as far as you usually take it, because you're like, okay, yay, Superman actually has a vulnerability, just like hooray, Nuclear Man at least has a vulnerability, which is actually kind of cool the way revealed. It's one of the segments, like you mentioned, Ian. There's fits and spurts in this film that I love, like that one where Lex thinks he's got this ultimate Superman killing machine, but he knows there's probably something with him, and the guy walks into a shade and just immediately boom, powers down, and he's like, hey,
And there's that little detail of where he's got this diamond ring, and he catches just his little glimpse of sunlight to like kind of turn him on and off.
Yeah, it turns him on. It turns, and then he removes it to turn him off again. I love that bit because it actually is kind of classic Lex in that scene, because he's figuring out real quick how he can actually control and manipulate this weapon, which seemed like it was going to go out of control for him for a minute, and now he's just like, I've got it. Okay, no problem. He's figured out now 18 steps ahead of the Neanderthal he just created, which, probably is to the nth degree, but still he figured out how he can control this guy. And I liked that bit. I like the bits like you mentioned with Clark, especially what they do with Clark in here and his relationship with, Lois. At least they spared us the singing scene, even though they do the flying scene with Superman and Lois Lane around the world again. At least they spared us any singing. They didn't buy that stock footage, but
well, you're bringing us back to one of the weird problems about this movie, because early in one of the other films, Lois finds out Clark and Superman's secret, but then he kisses her and takes away her memory. In this movie, she kind of regains her memory.
Yeah, while they're flying.
Right. And then he's like, so you remembered, and she's like, I never forgot. Yeah. And then he kisses her again, and she forgets. So is this a time released hormone? Would this scene play today? And the answer is not at all.
We've proven that he's telepathic, right, Monty? Because he can control people with his minds when Nuclear Man is levitating people, right? I mean, we discover other powers too. What powers do we discover Superman has in this, Lamont?
It's been a while. Darn it, I forgot what that scene was that we discovered something powers has never been displayed in any of the comics at all.
Well, the power of no budget was the reconstruction of the Great Wall.
Oh my God!
oh yeah, that.
My son loved that scene. He's like, hey, I didn't know Superman had wall reconstruction vision. That's awesome. Masonry. He can do masonry.
Precise measurements and everything. Wow.
He just restacked.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that scene.
That's part of that whole global, where you said, Ian, it does show its budget. But, again, I'm watching this and I can't hate on it, because I see what Canon's trying to do. Their eyes are bigger than their budget. They're trying to create this epic Superman film. I mean, he's going around, he's got to save a volcano. And it's funny, my son hadn't seen it before. So Nuclear Man sets off a volcano in Italy that's threatening a city. And Superman flies past the snow-topped covered peak of another mountain next to it. And my son says, before Superman does, he goes, oh, is he going to cut off the top and plug the hole? And sure as shit, he cuts the top off of one mountain and plugs the hole. He saved the Statue of Liberty, and that got him scratched. See what happened? He tried to save the Statue of Liberty, and it made him vulnerable.
I know it was slightly afterwards, but I kept thinking, wouldn't it be great if they were flying, to the Statue of Liberty and they just see Remo Williams getting into a fight with construction workers?
Remo Williams standing on top. No, he's standing on the torch as it's flying. He's like, and then Buckaroo Banzai appears through. His car flies through because he flew through the eighth dimension of the Statue of Liberty. It shows up. And then
Yes.
Remo, Drew Banzai, and Superman joined forces against Nuclear Man.
That's a movie that they need to make.
They need to make that. Though I give Matt again, there's fits and sections where I love Lamont, where Superman figures out fairly quickly the weakness of Nuclear Man with the segment with the elevator. What'd you think about this whole sequence?
That's probably one of the few parts I actually liked about the movie. Was the elevator sequence. I actually thought was pretty good. It actually shows that Superman is he does have a brain of computer, so he's very highly intelligent, and the fact that he was able to figure it out, that's one of the few things I actually liked about the movie is when Superman finds out his weakness. Yeah, I dug it. Ian, what did you think of with the I mean, I liked it how he thought he had him and didn't think of the crack in the elevator. But what do you think of the sequence, at least with him confronting Nuclear Man and getting him in the elevator?
It's a neat idea. I don't know. I guess I was just kind of bummed because I thought the movie was over, and then it wasn't.
Wow. There is no love lost between Ian and Superman 4. That's for sure.
Look, the thing is, the only thing is saving it, I think, is the nostalgia factor with the cast, because they're all great. Even Christopher Reeve, for as weird as his acting was in this one, it's still Christopher Reeve. I look at that and I'm like, I'm watching Superman. It's a feeling that I had wanted to have in, I'm sorry, all the later DC movies. I'm like, I love Henry Cavill. I get it. The guy who played him in Superman Returns,
Roth.
Brandon
Routh. Yeah,
he's fine. But I'm watching this. I'm like, it's kind of like when Jackie Earle Haley put on the Freddy Krueger makeup. I'm like, that's not Robert Englund. Why am I even bothering? So it was nice to see Christopher Reeve again, doing his part. Like, this is talk about a role someone was born to play. I just wish that this had been, going back to what the screenwriter was saying at the beginning of that commentary. This really does kind of feel like a betrayal, not like anything malicious. It's just that what this could have been, and what this possibly would have done to cement his character as an icon to make up for Superman 3 and really be something worthy of the pantheon of the Superman films. It's kind of a bummer.
And it makes me wonder what this film would have been like 2 years prior, because Canon on the upswing, making some bank with the Death Wish and with getting that Charlie money between the two Charlies. I mean, they were on the up a bit for quite some time, that period going up, because they wanted to make this movie for $36 million, but they ended up having to do $17 million because it's an 87. As they were hitting the financial straits, they overextended themselves in that, and therefore that it's kind of the catch-22. They were buying the properties because they're established properties, figuring they could make the bank on at least the name recognition. Unfortunately, the money they needed to put up to buy the properties ended up putting them in further financial straits, and then they couldn't put the money into the property to actually make people want to come get it, which further dumped them. I mean, because this is around when we get Masters of the Universe was the same thing, and they were going to do a Spider-Man film. They actually had, but Superman 4 bombed, and
well, it's like that old expression: you gotta spend money to lose money.
Yeah.
But no, budget constraints, I can see it. I mean, I'm surprised this thing was $17 million.
Well, a lot of that was, again, for probably the cast.
Yeah. So then they had they went from $36 million down to $36 for the actual production once they factor everyone's salaries. I get it. But it's just, they made the movie. It's fine. It's out there. I might actually watch this again and just fast forward through the Nuclear Man fighting stuff, because and the relationship stuff. It's a solid 15-minute film that just happens to be an hour and a half long.
Which intended to be over 2 hours long. It makes me wonder what this would have been, because again, I see the spirit there, and watching it again, it is full camp. I mean, let's put it this way. If you enjoy Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, if you liked Corman's, if you've seen it, Fantastic Four, if you liked those very cheesy superhero films that came out in this period just before Batman of 89, you know, where they were still figuring out how to make these. If you find that period in there and you enjoy those films, I think there's a lot of campy entertainment, and you don't absolutely have to watch any of the other films because there's no connection. I mean, Lex Luthor is still Lex Luthor. You don't need to see the other ones to follow what's going on in this film. It's a standalone issue, basically, of Superman.
Let me put some scotch tape on that advice. If you've never seen one of these movies before, don't start with Superman 4, because that is going to prohibit you mentally from saying, I want to see more of this. And then you'll rob yourself of seeing the fantastic Superman 1 and the pretty great Superman 2.
Yeah, and then Superman 3, which
the
has
best
its moments too. So
the legacy of Superman 3 is that it ended up being a central plot point in Office Space, which, you know, God bless Mike Judge.
Very true. And finally, it's Superman. John Williams could do no wrong from 1977 to about 1990. I mean, the man, whatever he made music-wise was gold. He is not doing the music in this film. Now, granted, they bought some of the footage, some of the music, because some of the music in here is from the original soundtrack. But then you could tell when it switches to the Great Value Orchestra that they use for this, because the music definitely doesn't match up. Lamont, Superman, I mean, the first Superman especially, that theme is just iconic thanks to Williams. What did you think of the music in this film?
When I at the time I didn't know, but I know the music was different. But later on, once I learned that it was not John Williams and not do the music, I'm like, are they crazy? How can you not have John Williams do the music? Are they? And then to realize, obviously, there was canon. That later on, as I got older, started realizing that obviously it was done by canon. I said, "Oh, damn, the wonder!" I said, "Cheap bastards."
Hey, you know, I give them. They shot for the clouds. I mean, in watching in reading the book from the Canon Film Guide Volume 1 from 1980 to 84. Please pick it up, folks. It's an awesome book. Anyway, another endless shill for that book, because it's very cool. But reading it, their ambition and spirit is admirable, and what they were trying to do, and the fact that they felt to pick up a Superman franchise, which even with 3 not doing the best at the box office, it's still an established name. Figuring they can take that on along with the mad property of Masters of the Universe. I mean, I admire their spirit and ambition. I mean, they just didn't have the resources there because they overextended themselves with everything, but I see it for what it could have been sometimes when I watch this film, which isn't often. It's been a while. It's just what we got is something different and completely different. And the thing is with the actors, I don't think Ian, I mean, we joke about how, Hackman was a little bit more cartoonish in this, and he plays a little bit over the top. I still don't get the feeling like the veteran actors from the original films coming back that they've completely checked out of this movie. They still seem to be playing the characters fairly well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lamont.
Yeah, you do have to give, Margot Kidder, Christopher Reeves, everyone else is credit. They still were trying to, obviously, because they felt as though, we've done what we can with the characters. We're not going to insult the audience by not doing the good job. So I will give them credit for at least trying to do something with the script they were given. I'm pretty sure when they read it, it's like, what the hell?
Ian, what about you, sir?
Well, I'm curious to find out how much that 45 minutes that got trimmed involved these characters, because a lot of it's 2 separate movies. It's like it's like the Superman Action Comics, and then there's like the Lois Lane and my fiance Clark Kent or something like that, like a total romance comic with a whole tired bit of like Superman goes out one door, Clark comes in the other door because they're doing a double date and it doesn't work out. That's fun stuff. They're definitely committed to it. But yeah, you get the feeling that they're making a completely separate movie. They're making this kind of a throwback screwball comedy, and it almost have been better if it had just been that. I think about the poor special effects artists who had to make this thing look as good as they could, but it still came out terrible. I mean, I wonder if they even bothered to go to the premiere to see this stuff on the big screen.
Oh, yeah. Anything to add with our cast here and their performances, Lamont?
Was it Meryl Hemingway who played the daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She was okay.
Yeah, she's kind of the precursor to the Lena Luthor who we see later on in the Supergirl series. In all honesty,
I got to watch the Supergirl show.
You haven't seen the Supergirl show on CW?
I watched like the first couple episodes, and I think like a lot of CW shows, you got to get probably past the first season
with
or
the
at least into it.
Yeah, with the CW shows, you definitely got to get past the first season where they're kind of finding their legs, because I haven't watched the last seasons. I usually wait till they're all done and then just binge watch them on Netflix or wherever they're going to show, either HBO Max now or Netflix. I just usually binge them. But Supergirl got really good and got into the mythos, and they brought in some characters you did not expect them to bring in, that ended up becoming regulars. And Lena Luthor is an awesome character in it. I don't like what they did with her for like a season.
No, neither did I. I didn't like that neither.
You know which part I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I definitely know what you're talking about too.
Because it didn't make much sense.
It didn't make much sense. I get what they were trying to do, because I like it when writers at least try to do something different with the characters. Mm-hmm. But if you establish this friendship that she had, and then you want to make it spin, do that, and it really doesn't kind of fit her persona that you built her, because she's trying to. You don't want her to be evil.
Yeah,
I mean, but if you wanted her to be, in a female version of Lex Luthor, then that's what you should have done with her to begin with. Right. And that's why I assume that's what I thought they were going to do, make her become a female version of Luthor, which I wouldn't mind. But they decided not to do that, and then all of a sudden, hey, let's go ahead and make her not be evil, but get pissed off because she's been betrayed. And I said, yeah, I don't like that.
Well, if you're wondering about all the details of the alternate version from the 134 minutes, apparently, and I may need to find this, there's an out-of-print Japanese laser disc which has 2 extra scenes in the 94-minute version, but IMDb has probably what I have not seen before, the longest section of alternate version recap, which includes Clark visiting his adopted parents' grave. We see him flying to Jeremy's school, the kid who wrote to Superman asking him to get rid of the nukes. We see Lex making Nuclear Man 1, who goes to a Metro Club because they set up that Clark and Lacey, played by Hemingway, were going to do a series of reports on the night scene just so that she could get Clark out on a date. And he was supposed to fight Nuclear Man 1 there. And that's where that protoplasm scene in the lab later on with Lenny and the fabric comes from. That was actually the second scene. The first scene, Lex bakes a version of Nuclear Man 1 and creates them. And then the protoplasm that he's putting in the box that they attach to the nuclear weapon that they send into the sun. Yes, folks, this is real. That's actually from a piece of the original first Nuclear Man that he acquired and shoves in the box, along with the piece of fabric that eventually has a computer in it that automatically grows clothing, which I'm like, Lex, why do you have a career of crime when if you've got a computer that could take a piece of fabric and make a completely form-fitting set? There's your millions of dollars right there. Holy, dude, you got to think outside the box. But a lot of it is with the Nuclear Man 1 battle. apparently, that apparently at one point Nuclear Man could double in size. He could actually change his size. So
this is all, was this all scripted but not filmed? Okay.
No,
so
some of it was filmed. No, this was 134 minutes was filmed. They cut it down to 90 minutes, 94 for the TV version, which had a couple extra scenes.
I want to see, with these special effects, I want to see Nuclear Man double in size.
I want to see a canon cut. Hashtag release the canon cut.
Canon cut.
Yes.
Hashtag release the canon cut. Let's start it now, folks. My listeners out there, all of you, start trending on Twitter. Hashtag release the canon cut of Superman 4 Quest for Peace.
Yeah, they need to spend $70 million at resurrecting the
I would watch that, damn it. I would support that. Hell yeah. Yes, do it. And then release the butthole cut of Cats. Anyway, we're done now. I think we'll wrap it up here. It's not a deep film. It is canon film. It is in the twilight years of canon, unfortunately, and it shows in this film. I found some charm in it, but there was also some great commentary my honorable son One and I did, which you can find on the Patreon later, for when the credits roll sequence, where I record about 15 minutes of us going back and forth on this film, get a young person's perspective, a 21-year-old perspective on this film from 1987. It's a very interesting conversation, but watching it the second time around, I'm like, I didn't hate it. Okay. I will say it's not a good film by any means, but I'm like, there is some charm here, and it's namely for Reeves still putting his all in, the original cast still making the most of what they know is not a great script. And, it's like a film light, a Superman light. And compared to, the first two, it's But I would say that there is some watchable and some cheesy camp entertainment here. Watch it with friends. Lamont, your final thoughts with Superman 4.
Yeah, it's definitely, you would think after the fourth film, they would try to do some improvements, but, unfortunately, Canon didn't have the budget to do what they really wanted to do. Like you said, they overextended themselves, but it's not fan four stick.
Yeah.
Few movies are. Wow.
Oh yeah, Ian, your final thought with Superman 4. I know you are been savage on it. Do you just is this just a pock on the plane of cinema?
Yeah, I mean there are definitely worse movies. I would recommend, if you can find the DVD, or I know they put out a Blu-ray set of all the movies years ago. I don't know if that writer's commentary is on it, but definitely if you're going to experience this, just watch the movie with their commentary on it, because it's really fascinating and very funny. Mark, you're right. Watch it with friends. If you are not the most assertive person in the world, and you're with a crowd that you've kind of grown sick of, and you're like, I don't know how to tell these people to get the hell out of my life. Just say, hey, everybody, come over to my house Friday night, beer and pizza and Superman 4. Problem solved.
Damn it, Ian, that's not what I meant.
I'm sorry. I
spoken like a true Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, I tell you. I'm a Dick U fan and a McU fan, so okay, you're
not gonna dick me.
Wait a minute. Don't tell me you actually like Daredevil.
No.
I thought you were talking about the movie or the TV show, because they're two different conversations.
The movie.
No, the movie. Okay. No, that and Elektra are like, there's a triple feature for you. Grab some alcohol and friends, sit down and watch Superman 4 Quest for Peace, Daredevil, and Elektra. There you go. Marvel, you're not all good. Just remember that, okay? There were movies before 10 years ago, okay? Let's just put it that way.
You got to remember where you came from. That's absolutely right.
We all these properties have their ugly moments, and this one definitely was one of those for the Superman franchise. So thank you very much, Lamont and Ian. And now it is a Canon Fodder film, and Lamont, Ian has shot the Canon a few times, being that he has been wonderfully gracious to come back, and you have been wonderfully gracious to come back on our show, which I appreciate, but you get to fire the cannon. So you get to pick what film we're going to watch next month as our Cannon Fodder episode. And as we always do, this time, though, the list is getting smaller. So pick a number between 1 and 6.
5.
5. Let's fire the cannon and find out what you picked. Well, you know, it's fate, Ian. It's fate because, Lamont, you're the horror miser. And you managed to pick one of the horror films that is left from our pot of canon films to choose from. You picked Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh.
That's right, folks. Lamont fired the cannon, picked number 5, shot number 5 at our cannon pile, and hit Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So that's what's next month for July, which is fate, because I love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If I follow suit and do a theme around the canon film, that means July is going to be not only our 15th anniversary month, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre month.
Wait, Mark.
What?
Mark.
What? Oh, you did a series.
Are we going to do all of them?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
No. We don't have that many weeks in the year. We're going to do, I think July has 4 weeks.
Okay.
I do believe. And it just came to my head now. It just inspiration. Poof. Just like that. My brain always has ideas. Lamont, you're an inspiration. 4 weeks. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, 2, 3. And Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. That's what we are doing next month for July. Chainsaw month. It's like fate. It's like the stars have aligned. My birthday's that month, 15th anniversary, and we're going to do Chainsaw month for July. That's right, folks. So prepare yourselves for us to talk about Texas Chainsaw 1, 2, 3 and Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Oh, I'm excited now. Oh, I'm jazzed now. I'm
excited now. I've never seen Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. This is gonna be good.
I've heard it, but I've never seen it.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty. It is a wonderful film. But yes, folks, that is what we are covering next month. You've heard it here first. And when this drops, look soon, because you may be able to take some Special Mark production stuff with you anywhere. Yes, that's right. I'm announcing it here on the episode to the grand public. July 1st, the Teespring storefront will open, and you will be able to get mugs, t-shirts, and even phone cases, if you're curious, with Special Mark Productions and the final cut on it, and maybe by then even some spoiler room stuff. Not sure yet. Got to work on it. But yes, there will be merch. We're putting the name on everything. So here you have it, folks. There'll be links on the Special Mark Productions page and all over the place. So very excited. And now we're closing it out. License to shill for my fine fellow friends here. So Lamont, you first, sir, please. License to shill. I know you got stuff to tell our folks about. So go.
Okay. I just put up my review of the Russian horror film called Super Deep. Pretty good horror film. That's going to be that's up right now. Let's see. Hopefully, I will have the Unholy up by this weekend, and then finally, what I always do through when we come to the end of June, I will put out my top 5 best horror films of 2021 so far this year.
Awesome.
And if The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It shows up on that list, Lamont, I don't know. I'll be surprised. So, Ian, by all means, license to shill. Floor is yours, sir.
Well, I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com. I'm also on YouTube, just like Mark here. So I have a show that I do like 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more. Like the last week and this week, I'm slowly losing my mind. So movie reviews, roundtables, interviews, all that good stuff. And on Wednesdays, I'm doing a live roundtable with Earth's Mightiest Critics, of which Mark is a proud member. I hope you're proud. Where we talk about the Disney Marvel shows. He brings that DC balance to the Marvel Universe discussion. So we've been talking about Loki for the last few weeks. So yeah, that's that live on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central.
No, I do believe one of the Earth's Mightiest Critics described me as, well, there's always a DC shill in the audience. So there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this Fodder's Day special. And I would just say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, people.